The afternoon light sliced through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Ashford mansion, turning everything it touched to gold. Julian Ashford sat in Italian leather, scotch in hand, scrolling past texts from women whose faces he barely remembered. At 33, he'd perfected the art of wanting nothing because he already had everything. His assistant Thomas cleared his throat from the doorway. Julian didn't look up. The board meeting is Thursday. That actress from the festival called again. Tell her I'm unavailable. Julian's voice was bored, dismissive. Too many options to waste time on desperation. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, heavy, purposeful. Julian knew that walk. His father entered like a storm front, 70 years old, and still capable of making grown men flinch. Leave us, Robert Ashford commanded. Thomas vanished. Julian raised his glass in mock salute. Father, drink? Your carefree existence ends today. The words landed like stones. Julian laughed, but the sound felt hollow. That's dramatic. The Singapore deal closed early. Stock prices are excellent. This isn't about quarterly reports. Robert moved closer, hands clasped behind his back like a general. This is about legacy, responsibility, the future of everything we've built. Something cold crawled up Julian's spine. What are you saying? You're getting married. The room tilted. Julian stood so fast his chair scraped against marble. Excuse me? You heard me. It's time you settled down, showed the world the Ashford heir is more than tabloid headlines. This is the 21st century. Nobody arranges marriages anymore. The merger with quantum technologies depends on it. Robert's tone was flat, businesslike, as if discussing real estate. Julian waved his hand. Then find another way. We always do. Robert walked to the window, gazing at gardens that stretched toward infinity. Your Uncle Victor has a daughter. Julian frowned, searching his memory. Victor? The scientist who barely speaks to anyone? I didn't know he'd married. Briefly. His wife died after childbirth. The girl, Emma, was raised in boarding schools, multiple advanced degrees, runs her own research facility, exceptionally intelligent. Fascinating, Julian said, sarcasm dripping. Why should I care? Because I've arranged your marriage to her. The wedding is in 1 month. The quantum shares integrate into our holdings, and you get an appropriate wife. Silence crashed down like a collapsing building. Julian poured another drink, his hand trembling. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. What if I refuse? Robert's expression turned to granite. Then everything stops. No accounts, no properties, no position in the company. I have the legal documentation ready to remove you entirely. You wouldn't dare. I would. I will. Everything is already arranged. You have one choice, Julian. Only one. Julian ran his fingers through his hair, feeling his carefully constructed life crumbling. Why now? What's the real reason? For a heartbeat, his father's mask cracked. I'll be 71 next month, son. It's time to secure the future. Time waits for no one. Let me at least meet her first. If she's so brilliant, surely she didn't agree to this either. A strange smile crossed Robert's face. She already has. 1 week later, Julian waited at the city's most exclusive restaurant, calculating. This location was deliberate. She wouldn't make a scene here, surrounded by society's elite. When the hostess approached with a woman trailing behind, he looked up expecting awkwardness, expecting a female version of his reclusive uncle. What he saw almost made him laugh. Emma Thorne was tall, slim, wearing enormous black-framed glasses that swallowed half her face. Her hair was scraped back in a severe bun. The gray suit she wore hung on her frame like a tent, at least 2 sizes too large. But what struck him most was her expression. Nothing. No nervousness. No admiration. No reaction at all. Mr. Ashford. Her voice was clear, steady, as she sat across from him without waiting for permission. Julian leaned back, studying her like a specimen. So you're the brilliant niece I'm being forced to marry. Tell me, Emma, what made you agree to this medieval arrangement? She removed her glasses, cleaning them methodically with a cloth from her pocket. The same thing that made you agree, I imagine? Necessity? I didn't agree. I was blackmailed. Then we have that in common. She replaced her glasses, meeting his gaze directly. Your father controls your inheritance. My father controls my research funding. We're both prisoners in expensive cages. The honesty caught him off guard. He'd expected tears, pleading, maybe even gratitude for the chance to marry into wealth. "At least you're realistic," he said finally. "Realistic?" Her laugh was sharp, bitter. "I'm practical. There's a difference. This marriage is a business transaction. You need it for your merger. I need it for my work. We both benefit." Julian signaled the waiter for wine. "And after the wedding, what exactly do you expect from this arrangement?" Emma folded her hands on the table. Her nails were short, unpolished, the hands of someone who worked in laboratories, not salons. "I expect nothing. You live your life. I live mine. We perform for cameras when necessary. Otherwise, we stay out of each other's way. That's simple." "That's simple." The wine arrived. Julian poured, watching her face for any sign of the usual feminine games. He saw nothing but cold calculation. "You're not like other women I've met." "Good." Emma took a sip, her expression unchanging. "Because I'm not interested in being like them." "Then what are you interested in?" She set down her glass. The restaurant noise faded around them, conversations and clinking silverware becoming distant static. "My research. My work, making discoveries that matter. Your world of parties and tabloids and empty people means nothing to me, Mr. Ashford. I'll be your wife on paper. I'll smile for photographs. But don't expect me to pretend you're anything more than a necessary inconvenience." The words should have angered him. Instead, Julian felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Curiosity. This woman, this awkward scientist in her oversized suit, had just dismissed him completely. No one dismissed Julian Ashford. He leaned forward, studying her face. Behind those ridiculous glasses, he caught a glimpse of something. Intelligence, yes, but also pain, old wounds, carefully hidden. "1 month until the wedding," he said quietly. "I suppose we should get to know each other." "Why?" Emma stood, gathering her plain black purse. "We're strangers who'll be legally bound. Knowing each other will only make this more complicated." She turned to leave, but Julian's voice stopped her. "Emma," she looked back, one eyebrow raised. "This arrangement might be a prison for both of us," he said, something dangerous entering his tone. "But I've never been good at following rules, even in cages." For the first time, genuine emotion flickered across her face. Not fear, not interest, warning, neither have I. "Mr. Ashford, that's something you should remember." She walked away, leaving Julian alone with his wine and a strange, unsettling feeling that his carefully controlled life was about to become far more complicated than his father had ever intended. Outside, Emma climbed into a waiting car, her hands shaking as she removed her glasses. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror. "How did it go, Miss Thorne?" Emma stared at her reflection in the window, seeing not the awkward scientist she'd pretended to be, but the woman she'd been hiding for years. "He has no idea what he's agreed to," she whispered. "And the plan?" Emma's expression hardened, beautiful and cold in the fading light. "Proceeds exactly as scheduled." The wedding happened like a fever dream. 300 guests, orchids flown in from Thailand, champagne that cost more per bottle than most people earned in a month. Emma walked down the aisle in a dress that somehow made her look smaller, plainer, while Julian stood at the altar in a custom tuxedo, playing the role of reluctant groom with perfect precision. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Julian leaned in, barely brushing his lips against Emma's. It was the kiss of strangers, cold and contractual. The reception was worse. Emma sat rigid beside him at the head table, answering questions in monotone, refusing champagne, leaving early with barely a word. Julian watched her go, then proceeded to drink enough to make the society pages. 2 weeks into marriage, they'd barely spoken. Julian kept his penthouse downtown. Emma took the guest house on the estate, converting 2 rooms into a makeshift laboratory. They attended exactly 3 public events together, standing far enough apart to make their arrangement obvious to anyone paying attention, which was everyone. "Mr. Ashford, is it true your wife hasn't moved into the main house?" "Mr. Ashford, sources say you were seen with a model in Paris last week." "Mr. Ashford, how does your wife feel about your continued nightlife?" Julian smiled for cameras, said nothing meaningful, and continued living exactly as he had before. Marriage changed nothing. His father had gotten his merger. Julian had kept his inheritance. Emma had her research funding. Everyone won. Except something was wrong. Julian found himself thinking about her at strange moments. The way she'd looked at him in the restaurant, that flash of warning. The way she moved through their wedding like a ghost, there but not present. He'd caught her staring at him once during the reception, her expression unreadable behind those ridiculous glasses. When he tried to remember her face clearly, he couldn't. It was a Thursday night when everything shifted. Julian came home late from a gallery opening, slightly drunk, definitely bored. The estate was dark except for lights in the guest house. He'd planned to go straight to the main house, but something pulled him toward those lights. The guest house door was unlocked. He entered quietly. Emma sat at a desk covered in papers and equipment, her back to him. She'd removed her suit jacket, working in a white shirt rolled to her elbows. Her hair was still in that severe bun, but pieces had escaped, curling against her neck. "Working late, wife?" Julian's voice came out rougher than intended. Emma stiffened but didn't turn around. "You're drunk. Tipsy. There's a difference." He moved closer, curious despite himself. "What are you working on that's so important you hide in a guest house?" "Nothing that concerns you. We're married. Legally, everything concerns me." She finally turned, and something in her expression stopped him cold. Her eyes behind those glasses were red, exhausted, but also burning with an intensity that didn't match the dowdy exterior. "This marriage is a contract, Mr. Ashford. You provide status. I provide compliance. My work is mine. You're keeping secrets." It wasn't a question. Emma stood, and for the first time, Julian noticed she was almost his height. "Everyone keeps secrets." "You certainly do. Such as?" "Such as the fact that you're miserable. That all your parties and women and expensive toys fill exactly nothing inside you. That you drink to forget you're just as trapped as I am." The words hit like physical blows. Julian's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough." Emma moved past him toward a small kitchen area, pulling out a bottle of water. "I know you're angry at your father for controlling you. I know you resent this marriage. I know you look at me and see exactly what I want you to see. An awkward scientist who doesn't threaten your carefully maintained world." "And what am I supposed to see?" Emma turned, and something in her posture changed, straightened. The meekness fell away like a discarded coat. "That's the question, isn't it?" She reached up, removing her glasses. Then her hands went to her hair, pulling pins free. The severe bun unraveled, releasing waves of chestnut hair that cascaded past her shoulders, catching the lamplight like silk. Julian's breath caught. Emma set the glasses on the counter, and without them, her face was completely different. High cheekbones, full lips, eyes that were startling in their clarity, a deep brown that seemed to see straight through him. She shrugged off the oversized shirt, revealing a fitted black tank top beneath that showed a figure nothing like what he'd imagined. Lean, strong, curved in ways the suits had completely hidden. "What?" Julian managed, his voice barely working. "The hell?" Emma's smile was sharp, dangerous. "You assumed I was plain because I dressed plainly. You assumed I was boring because I acted bored. You assumed I had no power because I claimed none. Men like you always assume, why?" The question came out hoarse. "Why the disguise?" "Because I needed you to underestimate me." Emma crossed her arms, and Julian realized she wasn't just beautiful. She was devastating, because I needed everyone to underestimate me. The merger, the marriage, all of it. There's more happening than you know. "Explain. Now." "No." Julian moved fast, closing the distance between them. But Emma didn't flinch. She held her ground, chin up, meeting his anger with something that looked almost like amusement. "You don't give me orders," she said quietly. "We might be married, but you don't control me. Remember that." They stood inches apart, the air between them crackling with tension that was equal parts rage and something else entirely. Something that made Julian's pulse race in a way that had nothing to do with alcohol. "Who are you really?" he asked. Emma's expression softened just slightly. For a moment, vulnerability flickered across her features. "Someone who had everything taken from them," she whispered. "Someone who learned to survive by becoming invisible. Someone who's very, very good at revenge." Revenge against whom? Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. Emma glanced at it, and every trace of emotion vanished from her face. "You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere until you explain." "Julian?" The use of his first name shocked him. "Please. If you have any sense of self-preservation, leave now." The fear in her voice was real. Julian hesitated, torn between demanding answers and the genuine terror he saw in her eyes. "This isn't over," he said finally. "I know." Emma's voice was barely audible. "That's what I'm afraid of." Julian left, his mind reeling. He made it halfway to the main house before he heard it, shouting from the guest house. A man's voice, rough and angry. Emma's voice rising in response, no longer meek, but fierce. Then the sound of something breaking. Julian ran back, burst through the door, and froze. Emma stood in the center of the room, glass crunching under her bare feet, facing a man who had to be 6.5 feet tall, built like a nightmare, tattoos crawling up his neck, eyes dead and cold. The man held a gun, pointed directly at Emma's chest. "Mrs. Ashford," the man said, his voice like gravel. "You missed a payment. Mr. Kozlov doesn't appreciate that." Emma's hands were steady at her sides. "Tell Kozlov I'll have his money. I just need more time." "Time's up, sweetheart. He wants what you promised, or he wants blood." Julian stepped forward without thinking. "Get the hell out of my house!" Both Emma and the intruder turned. The gun swung toward Julian. "Stay out of this, rich boy," the man growled. "This doesn't concern you. She's my wife." "It concerns me." Emma's eyes widened. "Julian, don't." But Julian was already moving, years of boxing lessons kicking in. He grabbed a lamp from the side table and swung hard. The intruder ducked, fired. The bullet went wide, shattering a window. Emma screamed, diving behind the desk. The fight was brutal and fast. Julian was skilled, but the intruder was professional. They crashed through furniture, trading blows. Julian's lip split. His ribs screamed. The gun skittered across the floor. Emma grabbed it, hands shaking, aiming at the intruder. "Get out," she shouted. "Get out now, or I swear I'll shoot." The man laughed, even with Julian's arm around his throat. "You don't have the spine, princess." Emma pulled the trigger. The bullet hit the wall 3 inches from the man's head. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. "Next one goes in your knee. Then your skull. Get out!" The intruder shoved Julian away, backing toward the door. "This isn't finished. Kozlov always collects." He disappeared into the night. Emma lowered the gun, her whole body trembling now. Julian leaned against the wall, breathing hard, blood dripping from his mouth. "Start talking," he gasped. "Everything. Now." Emma sank to the floor, the gun falling from her hands. When she looked up at him, tears streaked her face. "My father didn't just do research," she whispered. "He stole technology, quantum algorithms worth billions, from Dmitry Kozlov's organization. When Kozlov found out, he had my father killed, made it look like a heart attack." Julian's blood ran cold. "Victor's dead?" "6 months ago. Your father knew. He arranged this marriage to protect you, to legitimize the merger before Kozlov could interfere. But he didn't know I'd been working with the FBI, gathering evidence, trying to bring Kozlov down from the inside." "You're saying my father married me to you to, what, prevent a war between corporations and the Russian mafia?" "I'm saying he married you to me because I'm the only person who knows where my father hid the stolen technology. And Kozlov will kill anyone who gets in his way of recovering it." Emma stood, wrapping her arms around herself. "I never wanted you involved. I tried to stay distant, tried to keep you safe. But now you've seen my face. You've met Kozlov's man. There's no going back." Julian wiped blood from his mouth, his mind racing. Everything he'd believed about this marriage, about Emma, about his father's motivations, was a lie. Where's the technology? Emma looked at him, really looked at him, and he saw desperation there. Loneliness. The weight of carrying an impossible burden alone. It's hidden in plain sight, in the Ashford mansion. Your father helped me place it there 3 weeks before he died. He made me promise to use it to destroy Kozlov, no matter the cost. My father, Julian said slowly, was protecting you. He was protecting his legacy, his family, you. Emma's voice broke. I'm just the weapon he chose to use. Julian crossed the room, ignoring his screaming ribs, and stopped in front of her, close enough to see every emotion flickering across her face. Close enough to smell her shampoo, something light and unexpected beneath the fear and adrenaline. "You're not a weapon," he said quietly. "Then what am I?" Julian reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, tracing the line of her jaw. "Something real," he whispered. "Maybe the first real thing I've encountered in years." Emma's breath hitched. "This is a mistake. Probably. We shouldn't. I know. Julian." He kissed her, not the cold, contractual kiss from their wedding, but something desperate and hungry and absolutely reckless. Emma froze for a heartbeat, then kissed him back with equal ferocity, her hands tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the world had shifted again. That was stupid. Emma breathed. "Completely. We have bigger problems." "I'm aware." She pressed her forehead against his. "Kozlov will come himself next time. With more men. Better weapons. He won't stop until he has what he wants." Julian's arms tightened around her. "Then we need a plan. I have a plan. It ends with me dead and you safe." "That was always the plan. Not anymore." Julian pulled back, forcing her to meet his eyes. "We're in this together now. For better or worse. Apparently that's what marriage means." Emma laughed. The sound edged with hysteria. "You realize this changes everything." "Good. I was getting bored with everything anyway." She kissed him again, softer this time, almost tender. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "There's something else you should know. About why I really agreed to this marriage. About what I've been planning since the moment your father approached me." "What?" Emma's eyes hardened, all softness vanishing. "Kozlov isn't my only target. Your father knew things, did things that you've never suspected. And the quantum technology? It's not just algorithms. It's a weapon. One that could change everything." Julian felt the ground shifting beneath him again. "Emma, what are you planning?" She stepped back, and the woman standing before him now was someone entirely new. Not the meek scientist. Not the hidden beauty. Something else entirely. A predator. "I'm planning to burn it all down," she said. "Kozlov's empire. The corrupt networks your father protected. Every dark corner of this world that took my father from me. And I need you to decide right now, Julian. Are you with me, or do I have to destroy you too?" The question hung in the shattered room, glass crunching under their feet. The smell of gunpowder still sharp in the air. Julian looked at this woman, his wife, this stranger who'd just turned his entire world upside down, and he smiled. "When do we start?" They worked through the night like two people possessed. Emma spread documents across the desk, blueprints and financial records and photographs of men with dead eyes. Julian watched her transform, the awkward disguise completely abandoned, replaced by someone sharp and focused and absolutely terrifying in her intelligence. "Kozlov moves his operations through shell corporations," Emma explained, marking locations on a map. 17 different entities, all legitimate on the surface. But underneath, it's money laundering, weapons trafficking, technology theft. My father discovered the pattern 3 years ago. Julian studied the web of connections. This is bigger than corporate espionage. It's an empire. Emma's finger traced a line connecting various companies. And at the center is the quantum technology. Not just algorithms. A system capable of breaking any encryption in real time. Governments would pay billions. Terrorists would pay more. And your father had this. He helped develop it for Kozlov, not knowing what it would be used for. When he found out, he tried to run. Emma's voice went flat, emotionless. They killed him slowly, made sure he knew why he was dying. Julian saw the pain beneath her control. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Don't. I can't afford softness right now." "Emma." "I said don't." But her voice cracked. "If I let myself feel it, Julian, I'll fall apart. And I can't. Not until this is finished." He understood that kind of compartmentalization. He'd been doing it his whole life, burying everything real beneath layers of carelessness and wealth. Maybe that's why he recognized it in her so easily. "What's the plan?" he asked. Emma pulled out a small device, no bigger than a flash drive. "This contains proof of everything. Financial records, transaction histories, communications, enough to bring down Kozlov and everyone connected to him. But it's encrypted with the quantum technology. I need to decode it, Deliver it to the FBI and disappear before Kozlov realizes what's happening. Disappear where? Somewhere he'll never find me. New identity, new life. It's already arranged. The words hit Julian harder than the intruder's fists. You were always planning to leave. I was always planning to survive. Emma met his eyes. This marriage was temporary. I told you that from the beginning. That was before. Before what? Before one kiss? Before you decided to play hero? Emma's laugh was bitter. This isn't a romance, Julian. This is war. And in war, people who care about each other die. Then teach me not to care. I can't. The admission seemed to cost her. And that's the problem. A phone buzzed. Emma grabbed it, read the message, and all color drained from her face. What? Julian demanded. Kozlov knows. About the device, about the FBI, all of it. Her hands shook. Someone leaked the information. Someone close. Who? Emma was already moving, shoving papers into a bag, grabbing her laptop. It doesn't matter. We have to move now. He'll be here within the hour. Emma, stop. Who betrayed you? She froze, and when she looked at him, he saw devastation. Your father's assistant. Thomas. He's been on Kozlov's payroll for 3 years. The revelation was a knife between his ribs. Thomas, who'd worked for his father for a decade. Thomas, who knew everything about their family, their business, their secrets. Are you sure? The FBI confirmed it 10 minutes ago. He's been feeding Kozlov information about your father's operations, about the merger, about me. Emma's voice broke. He knew I was working with the feds. He's been sabotaging the investigation from the inside. Julian's mind raced. Then he knows we're here. He knows about the technology hidden in the mansion. Yes. We need to get it before Kozlov does. Emma shook her head. It's too late. If we go there now, we'll walk into a trap. Kozlov will be waiting. Then what do? We run, right now. Leave everything and disappear. Julian looked around the destroyed guest house. At the scattered evidence of Emma's double life. At this woman who'd become real to him in the space of hours. No. Julian, please. No. He gripped her shoulders, forcing her to face him. I've been running my whole life. From responsibility, from connection, from anything that mattered. I'm done running. You'll die. Maybe, but at least I'll die standing up. Emma's eyes filled with tears. This isn't your fight. You made it my fight when you kissed me back. When you trusted me with the truth. When you stopped pretending to be someone you're not. Julian wiped a tear from her cheek. I'm not leaving you to face this alone. You're an idiot. Probably. But I'm your idiot. You married me, remember? She laughed through tears, then kissed him hard, desperately, like she was memorizing the taste of him. If we're doing this, she whispered against his mouth, we do it smart. We use Kozlov's arrogance against him. How? Emma pulled back, and the predator returned to her eyes. We let him think he's won. We give him the technology. But first, we make sure it's a bomb. Julian understood immediately. We corrupt the data. More than corrupt. We weaponize it. Build in a virus that will destroy every system it touches, every server, every device. Kozlov will upload it to his entire network, and it will burn everything down from the inside. That's brilliant. That's suicide. Emma's smile was sharp. The FBI won't sanction it. It's too dangerous, too much collateral damage, which means we're on our own. How long do we have? 3 hours. Maybe 4. Then Kozlov will storm the mansion with enough firepower to level the building. They moved fast. Emma grabbed her laptop and equipment while Julian called his security team, dismissing them with a story about a false alarm. They couldn't risk anyone else getting caught in the crossfire. The mansion was silent when they entered, vast and empty. Julian had never noticed how lonely it felt until now. They found the quantum device hidden exactly where Emma said it would be, inside a false panel in his father's study. The technology was smaller than he'd imagined, elegant in its simplicity. Emma connected it to her laptop and started typing. Code flowed across the screen in patterns Julian couldn't follow. How long? He asked, watching the door. 30 minutes to build the virus. Another 10 to integrate it seamlessly. If I rush, Kozlov's people will detect the trap. Julian checked his watch. They had time. Barely. Tell me about your father, he said quietly. Emma's fingers paused on the keyboard. Why? Because I want to know. Because you're doing this for him. She was quiet for a long moment, then started typing again. He was kind. Brilliant but kind. He used to make breakfast every Sunday. Terrible pancakes that were somehow perfect. He'd tell me stories about quantum mechanics like they were fairy tales. He sounds wonderful. He was. And when Kozlov's people came, he used his last breath to call me, to warn me, to tell me he loved me. Emma's voice went hollow. I listened to him die over the phone, Julian. Listened to him choke on his own blood while I hid in a library 3,000 miles away, too powerless to help. Julian moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She leaned back against him, just for a moment, letting herself have one instant of comfort. I'm sorry, he whispered. So am I. She straightened, returning to the code. But sorry doesn't bring him back. Justice does. Revenge does. And after? When this is over. There is no after for me. You know that. Emma, don't make promises you can't keep. Don't pretend this ends with us together, living some fantasy life. I'm a dead woman walking. The moment Kozlov realizes what I've done, he'll hunt me forever. The FBI won't protect me if I go off mission. I'll spend the rest of my life running. Then I'll run with you. She spun in her chair, eyes blazing. You would give up everything? Your inheritance, your name, your entire life? What life? Julian laughed bitterly. The one where I drown in scotch and meaningless women? Where every day is exactly like the one before? You said it yourself, I was miserable. Maybe I've been waiting for something real to happen. Someone real to happen. This is insane. Absolutely. He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. But I've never felt more alive than I do right now. Scared and reckless and stupidly hopeful. That's worth more than all my father's money. Emma kissed him again, slower this time, trying to memorize everything. When she pulled back, determination had replaced the tears. Then we survive. Both of us. Together. Together, Julian agreed. The laptop beeped. Emma checked the screen and smiled viciously. It's done. The virus is integrated. It looks like legitimate quantum technology, but the moment Kozlov tries to use it, his entire network burns. How do we get it to him? We don't. We let him take it from us. Before Julian could ask what she meant, the lights went out. The mansion plunged into darkness. Emergency systems kicked in, casting everything in red. Julian grabbed Emma's hand. They're here, she whispered. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Multiple sets. Professional, coordinated. The sound of weapons being loaded. Time to play our parts, Emma said, her voice steady despite the terror Julian could feel radiating from her. They moved to the center of the study, the quantum device on the desk between them. Emma had changed her clothes while Julian wasn't looking, back into the oversized suit and glasses. The disguise, one last time. The door exploded inward. 6 men poured through, weapons raised, all pointing at Julian and Emma. Behind them came a 7th figure, older, distinguished in an expensive suit. Gray hair. Cultured accent. Dmitry Kozlov smiled like a wolf. Mr. and Mrs. Ashford, how lovely to finally meet you both properly. Julian stepped in front of Emma instinctively. Get the hell out of my house. Your house? Kozlov laughed. My dear boy, nothing here belongs to you. Not really. Your father understood that. He understood that in this world, power belongs to those willing to take it. My father was 10 times the man you'll ever be. Your father was a businessman who made convenient choices, as do we all. Kozlov's eyes shifted to Emma. Ms. Thorne, or should I say, Mrs. Ashford. You've been very clever. Very troublesome. Emma said nothing, pressing closer to Julian's back. The technology, please, Kozlov said pleasantly. I know it's here. My sources have been quite thorough. You mean Thomas, Julian spat. Your pet rat. Thomas understands loyalty, something your father pretended to understand but never quite mastered. Kozlov gestured, and one of his men moved forward. Now the device. Don't make this more difficult than necessary. Julian and Emma exchanged a look. This was it. The moment everything hinged on. It's there, Emma said quietly, pointing to the desk. Take it and leave. Kozlov's smile widened. So reasonable. So unlike the woman who's been trying to destroy me for 6 months, why the sudden cooperation? Because I'm tired of fighting. Because I want to live. Emma's voice trembled perfectly, the meek scientist returning. Take what you want. Just let us go. Kozlov studied her, suspicion clear in his eyes. Then he nodded. Check it. One of his men, clearly a tech specialist, approached the device with a scanner. Tense seconds passed while he examined it. Julian felt Emma's hand find his behind his back, squeezing once. It's clean, the specialist reported. Authentic quantum core, no visible tampering. Visible, Kozlov repeated. Run a deep scan. The specialist connected a laptop, typing rapidly. Julian's heart hammered. If they found the virus now, if the disguise failed, they were dead. Minutes stretched like hours. Clean, the specialist said finally. Whatever she was planning, this isn't it. Kozlov's smile returned, triumphant. Excellent. You see, Ms. Thorne, I'm not the monster you imagine. I'm simply a businessman collecting what's mine. He picked up the device, turning it over in his hands like a trophy. But there's still the matter of your cooperation with the FBI. Your testimony could prove inconvenient. I'll recant everything, Emma said quickly. I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. No, Kozlov said softly. I don't think that's acceptable. He nodded to his men. 3 weapons swung toward Emma. No! Julian threw himself in front of her, arms spread wide. You want blood? Take mine. She's got nothing you need. I'm the Ashford heir. I'm worth billions. Take me hostage, ransom, whatever. Just let her go. Kozlov looked genuinely amused. How noble. Young love really is quite touching. Please, Julian said, and meant it. Please. For a long moment, Kozlov considered. Then he lowered his hand. The weapons dropped. How fortunate for you both that I'm feeling generous tonight. Perhaps watching you live with the consequences will be punishment enough. He gestured to his men. We're leaving. They moved toward the door, the quantum device secure in Kozlov's hands. Julian and Emma stood frozen, waiting for the trap to spring. Kozlov paused at the threshold, turning back. Oh, and Mr. Ashford? When you inevitably discover what your father really was, what he really did to build his empire, you'll understand why I consider us peers. We're not so different, you and I. We simply wear different masks. He vanished into the darkness. His men followed. The mansion fell silent except for Julian and Emma's ragged breathing. Emma collapsed against the desk, legs shaking. We did it. He took it. How long until the virus activates? The moment he tries to access any files. Could be minutes, could be hours. She looked up at Julian. Vulnerability bleeding through. We actually did it. Julian pulled her close, holding her like he could keep the whole world at bay through sheer force of will. It's over, he whispered. It's finally over. Emma buried her face in his chest. No, it's just beginning. When Kozlov realizes what we've done, he'll come back. And next time he won't be generous. Then we run. Like you said, new identities, new life, together? Together. They stood there in the red emergency lighting. 2 people who'd started as strangers and somehow become something more. Something worth fighting for. Julian's phone buzzed. He checked it, then went very still. What? Emma asked. He showed her the screen. A text from an unknown number. Nice trick with the virus. But did you really think I wouldn't check? Did you really think I was that stupid? Goodbye, Mr. and Mrs. Ashford. Give my regards to your father in hell. Emma grabbed the laptop, typing frantically. Her face went white. Oh God, no. What? What is it? The device Kozlov took. It wasn't the original. It was a decoy. Emma's hands shook violently. The real quantum technology is still here, still hidden. And if Kozlov knows about the virus, then he knows about the decoy, which means... The implication hit Julian like a physical blow. Someone told him. Someone who knew about both devices. Emma turned to face him, and in her eyes, he saw the exact moment her heart broke. Julian. Who else knew the full plan? Who else did I tell everything? He thought back over the night. The conversations, the strategy sessions, and realized with dawning horror there was only one person who'd known every detail. You, he whispered. I only told you, and I told someone I trusted completely. Someone who helped me plan everything from the beginning. Emma's voice cracked. Someone who helped me hide the real device, who knew about the decoy, who coordinated with the FBI. Who? Emma pulled out her phone with shaking hands, dialing a number. It rang 3 times. Then a familiar voice answered. "Hello, Emma." Julian grabbed the phone, putting it on speaker. "Thomas." Thomas's laugh was cold. "Surprised? You shouldn't be. I've been playing this game longer than either of you have been alive." "Why?" Emma's voice was barely audible. "You said you'd help me bring Kozlov down. You said you wanted justice for my father." "Justice?" Thomas laughed again. "Your father was a thief and a fool. He stole from Kozlov, yes, but before that he stole from Robert Ashford. Technology that would have made the Ashford group unstoppable. Robert hired me to recover it, but I found a better deal with Kozlov instead." Julian felt his world tilting again. "My father knew? Your father was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. He knew Victor had stolen from him. He knew Kozlov had people inside his organization. He arranged your marriage to Emma because he thought he could use her to draw out the traitors." Thomas's voice turned contemptuous. "Instead, he just gave us everything we needed. The merger went through. The technology stayed hidden. And now Kozlov has both the decoy and the information to find the real device." "You bastard," Julian snarled. "I'm realistic. Something you'll learn if you live long enough." A pause. "Kozlov is heading back to the mansion now. He's bringing more men. Enough to tear that place apart brick by brick until they find what they're looking for. You have maybe 10 minutes before they arrive." "Why are you telling us this?" Emma asked. "Because Robert Ashford was good to me, in his way. And because watching you two fall in love was almost entertaining. Consider this a professional courtesy. Run now and you might survive the night. Stay and you die with the house." The line went dead. Julian and Emma stared at each other in the red-lit darkness. Outside, the sound of vehicles approaching grew louder. "Many vehicles. The real device," Julian said urgently. "Where is it?" Emma pointed to a painting on the wall, his father's favorite, a landscape of the English countryside. Behind that, "In a safe only your father and I knew about." Julian ripped the painting down. The safe was there, biometric lock. He pressed his palm against the reader, praying his father had added him to the approved access. The safe clicked open. Inside was a device identical to the one Kozlov had taken. But this one hummed with power. Active. Deadly. Emma grabbed it, her expression hardening into something Julian had never seen before. Not anger, not fear, something colder. Acceptance. "We can't run," she said quietly. "If Kozlov gets this, everything we've done means nothing. He'll use it to destroy anyone who opposes him. The FBI, your business rivals, governments. Millions of people will suffer. Then we destroy it. We can't. It's designed to be indestructible, tamper-proof. The only way to stop it is from the inside." Julian understood what she wasn't saying. "No. Someone has to manually trigger the shutdown sequence. Someone has to stay with it until it's completely disabled. It takes 20 minutes, and the person triggering it has to maintain biometric contact the entire time. Then I'll do it. You can't. It's coded to my DNA only. My father's final safeguard." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "This was always how it was going to end, Julian. I just hoped I'd have more time with you. There has to be another way. There isn't." She cupped his face in her hands, memorizing every detail. "This is my choice, my sacrifice, my revenge and my atonement all at once." The sound of vehicles was deafening now. Shouting, men surrounding the mansion. "Go," Emma whispered. "There's a tunnel in the basement, leads to the groundskeeper's cottage. You can make it if you run now." "I'm not leaving you." "Yes, you are." She kissed him one final time, pouring everything into it. Every word she didn't have time to say. Every future they'd never have. "Live, Julian. Live the way your father never let you. Live for both of us." She pushed him toward the door, and Julian went, knowing if he stayed he'd never leave, knowing she'd die either way, and his death beside her wouldn't change that. He made it to the hallway before turning back. Emma was already kneeling beside the device, her hand pressed to its surface, tears streaming down her face as code scrolled across its screen. "I love you," he shouted over the growing chaos. "Emma, I love you." She looked up, and despite everything, she smiled. "I know," she mouthed. Then the first explosion rocked the mansion. and Julian ran. Julian crashed through the basement, his father's mansion crumbling above him. Explosions tore through rooms filled with priceless memories. Ceiling beams collapsed. Fire spread like hungry light through walls that had stood for generations. The tunnel was exactly where Emma said it would be, behind a wine rack that swung open on hidden hinges. Julian dove inside just as another explosion shook the foundation, sending bottles shattering across stone floor. The tunnel was narrow, dark, endless. He ran blind, hands scraping against rough walls, lungs burning. Behind him, the sounds of destruction grew muted. Ahead, nothing but darkness, and the terrible knowledge that he was running away from the only person who'd ever made him feel real. The groundskeeper's cottage emerged from the tunnel like a miracle. Julian burst through the exit, falling onto grass that smelled of rain and earth. He turned back toward the mansion. It was burning. Flames reached toward the night sky, turning everything orange and red. More explosions rippled through the structure. Gunfire cracked the air. Sirens wailed in the distance, but they'd be too late. Everything was too late. Julian watched his entire life burn. The mansion, his father's legacy, the woman he'd known for less than 48 hours, and somehow loved more than he'd loved anything. He didn't know he was screaming until his throat went raw. Emma was in there, still kneeling beside the device, still maintaining contact. 20 minutes, she'd said. It had been maybe 5. Julian stood to run back, to die with her if that's what it took. His legs wouldn't move. Shock or survival instinct or simple cowardice, he couldn't tell. Then the biggest explosion yet. The mansion's center collapsed inward, a massive roar of destruction that Julian felt in his bones. The device detonating, the quantum technology burning itself out from the inside, taking everything with it, taking Emma. Julian fell to his knees. The grass was wet. Or maybe he was crying. He couldn't tell anymore. Couldn't feel anything except the vast empty space where something had briefly existed and was now just gone. The FBI arrived first, then fire trucks, then police. They found Julian there on the grass, staring at nothing, covered in ash and blood that wasn't his. They asked questions. He answered with his lawyer's number and nothing else. The investigation took 3 days. They found bodies in the rubble, Kozlov and 4 of his men caught in the explosion, evidence of the quantum technology, destroyed beyond recovery, evidence of Emma's computer, melted into unidentifiable slag. They found no evidence of Emma herself, no body, no DNA, no proof she'd ever been in the mansion when it burned. The FBI agent in charge, a tired woman named Martinez, sat across from Julian in a hotel room that cost more per night than most people earned in a month. "Your wife," Martinez said carefully. "Emma Thorne. We have her flagged as a confidential informant. She was supposed to report in yesterday." Julian said nothing. He'd barely spoken since the fire. "Mr. Ashford, I need to know. Was she in the mansion?" "Yes. Are you certain?" "I watched her stay behind. I watched the building collapse." His voice was mechanical, empty. "She's dead." Martinez studied him. "We haven't found remains." "You won't. The explosions were too intense, the heat too extreme. There's nothing left." "And the quantum technology?" "Destroyed. Just like everything else." Julian met her eyes. "Kozlov is dead. The technology is gone. Your investigation is over. That's what you wanted, isn't it?" Martinez sighed. "What we wanted was justice. What we got was a massacre and more questions than answers. Welcome to my world." She left him there. Julian sat in the expensive hotel room, surrounded by expensive furniture, wearing expensive clothes, and felt absolutely nothing. His father was dead. His home was destroyed. His wife, who wasn't really his wife but somehow had become the only thing that mattered, was gone. The news called it a terrorist attack. Kozlov's organization trying to seize Ashford technology. The wedding had been a business arrangement gone tragically wrong. Emma was portrayed as an innocent victim, caught up in forces beyond her control. Julian let them believe it. The truth was too complicated, too dangerous, too real for public consumption. He spent a week in that hotel. Then another. The Ashford Group board begged him to take control, to step into his father's shoes, to rebuild. Julian ignored them all. On the 15th day after the fire, A package arrived. No return address. No markings except his name in neat handwriting he recognized immediately. Inside was a flash drive and a note written on paper that smelled faintly of the shampoo Emma had used. Light and unexpected, just like her, the note was short. The device didn't need 20 minutes. It needed 5. I'm sorry I lied. But if you'd known, you would have stayed. And one of us needed to survive. Live well, Julian. Live freely. Don't waste the second chance I couldn't give my father. Julian's hands shook so violently he almost dropped the flash drive. She was alive. Emma was alive. He plugged it into his laptop with trembling fingers. A video file appeared. Just one. He clicked it. Emma's face filled the screen. She was somewhere with white walls, clinical, impersonal. Her hair was shorter, darker. The glasses were gone. But it was unmistakably her. By the time you see this, she said, her voice steady, I'll be gone. New name, new life, new person. The FBI is giving me witness protection. Not because I asked, but because Martinez thinks keeping me alive sends a message to whoever might rise up to replace Kozlov. She looked down, then back at the camera. Julian could see the exhaustion in her eyes. The weight of everything she'd survived. I need you to understand something, Emma continued. I didn't lie about the device to save myself. I lied to save you, because you deserve a life, Julian. A real one. Not running, not hiding, not sacrificing everything for someone you barely knew. But you were right about one thing, she said, and a sad smile crossed her face. Somewhere in the middle of all this darkness, I stopped pretending. I stopped being the weapon everyone wanted me to be, and for a few hours I was just Emma. Just a woman falling for a man who saw me when I'd spent years making sure nobody could. She reached toward the camera, almost touching it. Thank you for that. Thank you for being reckless and brave and stupidly heroic. Thank you for making me remember what it felt like to be human. Emma pulled her hand back. This is goodbye, Julian. Not because I want it to be, but because it has to be. The people I testified against, they have long memories. My only safety is disappearing completely. And that means disappearing from you too. Her eyes glistened. Live, Julian. Fall in love again. Build something beautiful. Don't let what we had, what we almost had, become another thing that traps you. My father would have liked you. He would have said you had a good heart buried under all that expensive armor. Maybe in another life, she whispered. We could have had our breakfast pancakes and quantum fairy tales. But in this one, we get a few perfect hours and a chance to survive. That's more than most people get, more than I ever expected. She stood, preparing to end the recording, then stopped. One more thing. The quantum technology. There's a backup. My father was paranoid about backups. It's hidden somewhere even I don't know about, and the location is encrypted in a way I can't crack. But if anyone ever finds it, if this nightmare starts again, you need to know how to stop it. Emma rattled off a series of codes, technical specifications, override sequences. Julian grabbed paper, writing frantically. Memorize this, Emma said. Then destroy it. Don't tell anyone. Not the FBI, not your board. Not anyone. This information dies with you, or it becomes the next weapon someone uses to destroy lives. She looked directly into the camera. I trust you, Julian. Maybe that makes me a fool. But I trust you to do the right thing. The video ended. Julian sat in the darkness, tears streaming down his face. She was alive. But she was also gone, vanished into a life he'd never be part of. He played the video 17 more times, memorizing every word, every expression, every detail of her face. Then, following her instructions, he destroyed the flash drive, smashed it, burned it, made sure no trace remained. The codes stayed in his memory, locked away like the secret they were. 2 months passed. Julian did what Emma had asked. He lived. He took control of the Ashford group and restructured everything, removing the corrupt elements his father had protected. He donated millions to research initiatives and technology programs. He stopped drinking, stopped the endless parties, stopped running from anything real. He bought a small apartment downtown. Nothing like the mansion, just simple and clean and his. He learned to cook terrible pancakes. He read books about quantum mechanics like they were fairy tales. People called it a transformation. The tabloids ran endless stories about the reformed playboy. The board celebrated his leadership. Society watched in fascination as Julian Ashford became someone completely different, Only Julian knew the truth. He wasn't becoming someone different. He was becoming someone real. The person Emma had seen beneath the armor. The person who'd been waiting all along for a reason to exist. He dated occasionally. Women who were intelligent, accomplished, complex. But every time someone laughed a certain way, or pushed back on his opinions, or showed unexpected vulnerability, he thought of Emma. And knew no one would ever quite measure up to the woman who'd turned his life upside down in 48 hours. 6 months after the fire, Julian received an invitation to a technology conference in Geneva. The keynote speaker was listed as Dr. Sarah Mitchell, presenting research on quantum encryption. Something in the description made Julian's breath catch. A specific phrase about ethical frameworks for powerful technologies. Those exact words had appeared in Emma's research notes. He booked a flight immediately. The conference was at a luxury hotel overlooking Lake Geneva. Julian sat in the back of the auditorium, heart hammering, waiting for the keynote to begin. A woman walked onto the stage. Dark hair, different face, slightly altered features, but the way she moved, the way she held herself, Julian knew immediately. Emma, alive, real. Standing 20 feet away, she spoke about responsibility and technology. About the weight of creating things that could change the world for good or evil. Her voice was the same. Clear, steady, brilliant. Their eyes met once during the presentation. Just for a second, Emma's expression didn't change, but Julian saw recognition flicker across her features. Shock, fear, and something else. Hope. The presentation ended. Emma disappeared into a crowd of researchers and investors. Julian tried to follow, but lost her in the lobby. He searched the hotel. Asked at the front desk. Checked the restaurant, the bar, every conference room. Nothing. Finally, exhausted, he returned to his room. Opened the door. Emma was sitting on his bed, wearing the Sarah Mitchell disguise, but somehow still completely herself. "You shouldn't have come," she said quietly. Julian closed the door, locked it. "I had to. It's not safe if anyone connects us. I don't care." They stared at each other across the hotel room, 6 months of separation stretching between them like an ocean. "You look good," Emma said finally. "Healthy, like you're actually sleeping. Terrible pancakes will do that." Julian's voice cracked. "I learned to cook. Like your father. They're awful, but I keep trying." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Julian, don't." He held up his hand. "Don't tell me to leave. Don't tell me this is goodbye. Don't tell me you're protecting me. I've spent 6 months living like you asked. Being good. Being responsible. Building something that matters. And it's all meaningless without you." "That's not true." "It is." Julian moved closer. "I fell in love with you, Emma, in less than 2 days, while we were being shot at and betrayed and blown up. And I've spent every day since trying to fall out of love with you. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I'm in witness protection. I can't have a normal life. I can't have relationships. I'm a ghost." "Then I'll be a ghost with you." Emma stood, and the distance between them disappeared. "You'd give up everything? Again?" "There's nothing to give up. You were right from the beginning. My life before was empty. You filled it. You made it real. I don't want to go back to empty." "This is insane." "Probably." Julian reached for her hand. "But we've done insane before. We're good at insane." Emma laughed through tears. "The FBI will kill me. Martinez specifically." "We'll deal with Martinez." Julian pulled her closer. "We'll deal with everything. Together. Like we should have from the start." "You really mean this? Every word?" Emma kissed him then, and it was nothing like their desperate kisses in the burning mansion. This was slow, certain, real. The kiss of 2 people who'd survived hell and found each other on the other side. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma pressed her forehead against his. "I have conditions," she whispered. "Name them. We do this carefully, slowly. No grand gestures that attract attention. No public relationship. I stay Sarah Mitchell. You stay Julian Ashford. We exist in the spaces between where nobody's watching." "Agreed. And if it ever becomes too dangerous, if my past catches up, you let me go." You don't follow. You don't sacrifice yourself. You promise. Julian hesitated, then nodded. I promise. It was a lie. They both knew it. But Emma smiled anyway. Then I guess we're doing this, she said. I guess we are. They stayed in that hotel room for 3 days, making up for 6 months of separation, planning a future that would require more deception and caution than most people could imagine. But for the first time since the fire, Julian felt complete. For the first time since hiding, Emma felt found. On the morning of the 4th day, Julian woke to find Emma already dressed, packing her small bag. Where are you going? He asked, panic rising. Stockholm. Another conference. More research. She came to the bed, kissed him softly. But I'll be back. And you'll find me. We'll keep finding each other. This is really going to work? Emma's smile was real, genuine, filled with the cautious hope of someone who'd lost everything and somehow found it again. I don't know, she admitted. But I want to try. For the first time in 6 months, I actually want to try. She left. Julian let her go because that's what their life would be. Meetings in hotel rooms, stolen moments between conferences, a relationship built in shadows and secrets. But it would be theirs. Real. Worth fighting for. He returned to New York the next day and threw himself back into work. But now everything was different. Now he had something to look forward to, someone to live for beyond himself. The Ashford Group continued to transform. Julian made deals that prioritized ethics over profit, funded research into technologies that helped people rather than controlled them, became the kind of leader his father had pretended to be, but never was. And every few weeks, he'd receive a text from an unknown number. Just coordinates. Nothing else. He'd travel to those coordinates. Find Emma there in whatever new identity she'd created. They'd have hours or days, or, if they were lucky, an entire week. Then they'd separate again, returning to their separate lives. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And after everything they'd survived, real was enough. Martinez found out eventually. Called Julian into an FBI office 6 months after Geneva. You're seeing her, Martinez said flatly. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who is really Emma Thorne, who is supposed to be in witness protection, maintaining zero contact with her previous life. Julian met her gaze steadily. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence. I've been tracking your travel patterns. They coincidentally align with every conference Dr. Mitchell attends. Martinez leaned forward. This is dangerous, Mr. Ashford, for both of you. Then stop tracking us. I can't do that. Yes, you can. Julian's voice went hard. Emma destroyed Kozlov's organization. She provided testimony that took down 17 different criminal enterprises. She sacrificed everything. Don't tell me she can't have one thing, one person, that makes her life worth living. Martinez was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out a file, pushing it across the desk. Kozlov had a brother, Alexei. He survived the mansion explosion because he was in Moscow at the time. He's been rebuilding. Carefully, quietly. But he's rebuilding. Ice flooded Julian's veins. And he knows about Sarah Mitchell. He knows she's Emma Thorne. He's been patient, waiting for her to make a mistake. Waiting for exactly what you two are doing. Martinez's expression was grim. Every time you meet, you're giving him an opportunity. Sooner or later, he'll take it. What do you want me to do? Walk away, completely. Let her disappear into protection for real this time. Martinez stood. Or accept that every moment you spend with her brings you both closer to dying the way her father did. Slow. Painful. Knowing exactly why it's happening. Julian stared at the file, at photographs of Alexei Kozlov, who had his brother's eyes. Cold. Dead. Determined. I'll think about it. He lied. He met Emma that night in Prague. Told her everything. They sat in a cafe overlooking the Charles Bridge. Tourists flowing around them like water around stone. I should let you go, Julian said quietly. You should. I'm not going to, I know. Emma took his hand. I'm not going to either. I've spent my whole life running, hiding, being less than I am to stay safe. I'm done. If Alexei comes for me, he comes. But I'm not giving up the one real thing I've found. We could die. Everyone dies eventually. At least this way, we'll have lived first. They finished their coffee. walked across the bridge as the sun set, turning everything gold. Just two people among thousands, invisible, together. And somewhere in Moscow, Alexei Kozlov looked at photographs of them, smiled, and began to plan. But that's a story for another time. For this moment, in this city, Julian and Emma were simply alive, simply in love. Simply two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and decided that was enough. They would face whatever came next, the same way they'd faced everything else. Together. 8 months after Prague, Julian woke to an empty bed in a Vienna hotel room. Emma was supposed to be there. They'd planned 3 days together, a rare luxury in their fractured life. His phone showed one message. Unknown number. Rooftop. Come alone. You have 10 minutes. Something was wrong. Emma never used his initial. Never texted during meets. Julian dressed in seconds, running for the stairs. The rooftop was cold, wind cutting across the city skyline. Dawn was breaking, painting Vienna in shades of gold and gray. Emma stood at the edge, her back to him, wearing clothes Julian had never seen. Black, tactical, wrong. Emma? She turned slowly. Her face was different, not a disguise. Just exhausted, worn down by months of looking over her shoulder. He's here, she said simply. Alexei, in Vienna. With a team. They've been following me for weeks, waiting for you to show up. Julian's blood turned to ice. How do you know? Because I let them follow me. Emma's smile was sad. I set a trap, Julian. And you walked right into it. The world tilted. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm done running. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting fear control every moment of my life. Emma moved closer, and Julian saw tears streaming down her face. And I'm done putting you in danger because I'm too selfish to let you go. Don't do this. Martinez was right. Every moment we spend together puts you at risk. Alexei won't stop. He'll use you to get to me, or he'll kill us both. Those are the only options. Emma's voice broke. So I made a choice. One last play. One chance to end this completely. What kind of play? Emma pulled something from her pocket. A familiar device. Smaller than the one from the mansion, but unmistakably similar. Quantum technology. Real. Dangerous. No. Julian breathed. You said it was destroyed. You said your father's backup was lost. I lied. Emma laughed bitterly. I lie a lot, it turns out. The backup was never lost. I've had it this whole time, and I've been using it. Small tests, careful applications, building proof that it works exactly as designed. Why? Because Alexei wants it more than he wants revenge. More than anything. And I've let him believe I'm willing to sell it. For money, for protection, for a way out. Emma held up the device. He's coming here. Right now. To make the exchange. And when he does, I'm going to kill him. Julian grabbed her shoulders. That's suicide. His team will shoot you the moment he's down, I know. Then why? Because it's the only way you survive. Emma cupped his face, memorizing every detail. Alexei dies, I die. The technology gets destroyed in the crossfire. You were never here. You're just a grieving husband who lost his wife to the same violence that killed her father. You go home, you live. You build that beautiful life we talked about. Without you. Without me. Julian pulled her close, holding her like he could change reality through sheer force of will. There has to be another way. There isn't. I've been planning this for months. Every angle, every possibility. This is the only path where you make it out. Then I'm not taking it. Julian pulled back, meeting her eyes. You said we face things together. You promised. I lied about that too. Emma's smile was heartbreaking. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Julian. The only purely good thing in a life full of darkness and violence and pain. I won't let you die because of me. I won't. You don't get to decide that. Yes, I do. It's my sacrifice, my choice, my revenge and my redemption all at once. Just like it was always supposed to be. Julian heard it then. Footsteps on the stairs, multiple sets, tactical, professional. Alexei's team was coming. Go. Emma whispered urgently. There's a fire escape on the east side. You can make it if you run now. I'm not leaving you. Julian, please. No. He grabbed the quantum device from her hands. If you're going to die, I'm dying with you. But we're not dying today. We're ending this together. Right now. Emma's eyes widened. What are you doing? Julian moved to the rooftop edge, holding the device over the city. Everyone stops. Right now. Or I drop this, and everything Alexei wants goes splat on the pavement 8 stories down. The stairwell door exploded open. 6 men poured out, weapons raised, and behind them Alexei Kozlov, older than his brother. Colder. He had a face that belonged on marble statues, beautiful and utterly dead inside. Mr. Ashford, Alexei said pleasantly. How theatrical. Call off your men? Or what? You drop my technology? Alexei laughed. Go ahead. I'll simply cut pieces off your lovely wife until you tell me where the backup is hidden. Because there's always another backup. Your father-in-law was wonderfully paranoid. There's no other backup, Emma said. This is it. The last one. I don't believe you. I don't care. Emma moved to stand beside Julian at the edge. But here's what I do know. That device isn't just quantum technology. It's armed. I wired it to explode the moment it impacts anything. Enough explosive to take out this entire building. So if Julian drops it, we all die. You, me, him, your men, everyone. Alexei's expression finally changed. Uncertainty flickered across his features. You're bluffing. Am I? Emma's smile was vicious. I learned from the best. My father, your brother, Robert Ashford. I learned that sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to lose everything. So here's my offer. You walk away, right now. Forever. And the technology goes into the ocean where nobody ever finds it. Or Julian drops it, and we all go together. She's not bluffing, Julian said quietly. I've seen her burn down a mansion to stop your brother. You think she won't burn down a hotel to stop you? The rooftop went silent except for wind and the distant sounds of Vienna waking below. Alexei studied them both, calculating, weighing options. You'd really die, he asked Emma. After all you've survived? After finding love? You'd throw it away? To keep him safe? Emma's voice was steady, without hesitation. How touching. Alexei pulled out a gun, aiming it at Julian's head. But I'm not my brother. I don't make the same mistakes. You want to die together? Fine, I'll grant that wish. But first you'll watch him die. Slowly, painfully. And then you'll give me the technology anyway, because the alternative will be even worse. Emma's hand found Julian's. Squeezed once. Do it, she whispered to him. Drop it. Julian looked at this woman, his wife, who'd been a stranger and become everything. He thought about terrible pancakes and quantum fairy tales, about stolen moments in hotel rooms across Europe, about a life they'd almost had, could have had, if the world had been kinder. He thought about his father's last words about legacy and responsibility. He understood now. Real legacy wasn't money or companies or mansions. It was choosing who you protected, what you stood for, how you loved. Together? He asked. Together, Emma confirmed. Julian's fingers loosened on the device. Wait. Martinez's voice cracked across the rooftop like a gunshot. She emerged from the stairwell, FBI tactical team behind her, weapons aimed at Alexei's men. Nobody moves. Nobody dies. Not today, Alexei's gun swung toward her. This doesn't concern the FBI. It concerns me. Martinez moved forward slowly, hands visible. Alexei Kozlov, you're under arrest for 17 counts of international trafficking, 12 counts of murder, and conspiracy to commit terrorism. Your organization has been under surveillance for 8 months. Every transaction, every communication, every movement. We've been waiting for you to make a mistake big enough to justify moving. Congratulations. Threatening 2 American citizens on European soil while in possession of illegal weapons is exactly that mistake. You have no jurisdiction here. Interpol does. They're downstairs, with Austrian police, with enough firepower to level this building if necessary. Martinez's smile was cold. You're done, Alexei. The only question is whether you die here or spend the next 30 years in a prison cell. The moment stretched thin. Julian felt Emma's hand trembling in his, felt the wind trying to pull them over the edge, felt the quantum device, heavy with the weight of all it represented. Alexei lowered his gun slowly. You think prison will hold me? You think this is over? I think you're a coward, Emma said suddenly. Your brother would have taken the shot, would have gone down fighting. But you're smarter than him, aren't you? Smart enough to know when you've lost. Rage twisted Alexi's features. For a heartbeat, Julian thought he'd shoot anyway. Thought they'd all go over the edge in a tangle of violence and revenge. Then Alexi smiled. You're right. I am smarter. Smart enough to know there's always another game. Always another play. This isn't over, Ms. Thorne. Not even close. He dropped his weapon. Raised his hands. Martinez's team swarmed forward, cuffing him and his men with professional efficiency. Within minutes, the rooftop was secure. Julian pulled Emma back from the edge, both of them collapsing to the rooftop surface, still holding hands, still holding the quantum device. Martinez approached slowly. You two are the most recklessly stupid people I've ever had the misfortune to protect. You were watching, Julian managed. This whole time. Of course I was watching. You think I'd let my confidential informant run around Europe playing house with a billionaire without surveillance? Martinez held out her hand. The device, please. Emma hesitated. What happens to it? That's classified. But I can tell you it won't fall into the wrong hands. You have my word, your word, my word, which is worth more than you know. Martinez's expression softened, just slightly. You did good work, Emma, both of you. Kozlov's organization is finished. The technology is secure. You're free. Emma stared at her. Free? Free. No more witness protection. No more running. No more hiding. Martinez took the device carefully. You've earned the right to live your life. Actually live it. Together, if that's what you want. Julian and Emma looked at each other. After everything, after all the loss and pain and sacrifice and fear, the word seemed impossible. Free. There's paperwork, Martinez continued. Debriefs, testimony. But after that, you're just two people who've been through hell and somehow made it out the other side. She stood, heading for the stairs. Don't waste it, she left. The tactical team followed. Within minutes, the rooftop was empty except for Julian and Emma, sitting in the growing dawn light, holding hands like lifelines. Did that really just happen? Emma asked. I think so. We're alive. Apparently. Together. Definitely together. Julian pulled her close, pressing his face into her hair. No more running. No more hiding. No more living in shadows. Emma was crying. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to just be normal. Then we'll learn together. Julian kissed her forehead. We'll learn to make terrible pancakes. We'll read quantum mechanics like fairy tales. We'll build a life that's ours. Real. Free. What if I'm too damaged? What if I can't? Then we'll be damaged together. Julian tilted her face up, meeting her eyes. I fell in love with you in a burning mansion while being shot at. I think we can handle normal life. Emma laughed through tears, when you put it that way. They stayed on that rooftop for an hour, watching Vienna wake up around them. Watching the world continue spinning despite everything. Watching the sun turn the city gold. Eventually they stood, walked down 8 flights of stairs, past Austrian police still processing the scene, stepped out into the street. Nobody stopped them. Nobody asked questions. They were just 2 people walking hand in hand through a city that had no idea what had happened above its sleeping streets. Julian hailed a cab. They climbed in. The driver asked their destination. Emma looked at Julian. Julian looked at Emma. Both smiled. Anywhere, Julian said. Anywhere that's not here, Emma added. The driver shrugged, pulled into traffic. They drove through Vienna, past historic buildings and modern offices, past cafes opening for the day and people heading to work. Normal life, continuing, persistent, beautiful. What now? Emma asked quietly. Julian laced his fingers through hers. Now we get married. For real this time. Not a contract, not an arrangement. Just us, choosing each other. We're already married. Then we do it again. Properly, with terrible pancakes at the reception. Emma laughed. You're serious, completely. I want vows I write. A ceremony that matters. A life I choose instead of one I'm forced into. Julian brought her hand to his lips. I want everything, Emma, with you. For real. Forever. She kissed him then, in the back of that Vienna cab, with the city flowing past the windows. Kissed him like she was sealing a promise, like she was choosing her own forever. When they broke apart, Both smiling, Emma whispered, "Okay. Okay? Let's get married. Let's make terrible pancakes. Let's build something beautiful from all this wreckage." She pressed her forehead to his. "Let's live, Julian. Really live. Together. Always together." The cab drove on. Behind them, Martinez watched from a window, making sure they actually left. Making sure they actually made it out. When the cab disappeared around a corner, she smiled. Some stories ended in tragedy. Some in revenge, but occasionally, very occasionally, some ended in two people finding each other in the darkness and deciding that was enough. This was one of those stories. 3 years later, Julian and Emma stood in their small kitchen, arguing cheerfully about the proper technique for flipping pancakes. Emma insisted on methodical timing. Julian preferred instinct. They were both terrible at it. Outside, snow fell softly on their Vermont home. Nothing like the Ashford mansion. Just a farmhouse they'd renovated together, filled with books and equipment and memories they were building from scratch. Emma ran a research lab in Burlington, doing work that mattered without the shadow of her father's mistakes. Julian consulted for technology companies, teaching them about ethics and responsibility and the weight of power. They'd gotten married again, exactly as Julian had wanted. A small ceremony, handwritten vows, terrible pancakes at the reception, Emma's father's quantum equations framed on the wall as a reminder, not of what was taken, but what they'd survived. They fought sometimes. Laughed often. Made love like people who remembered what it meant to almost lose everything. Built a life that was gloriously, beautifully normal. Martinez sent Christmas cards. Thomas had died in prison, shivved by someone connected to Kozlov's organization. Emma had cried for 3 days, grieving the mentor who'd betrayed her. Julian had held her through it all. Alexei Kozlov was serving multiple life sentences in a maximum security facility. He sent Emma one letter, which she burned unread. Some demons weren't worth acknowledging. The quantum technology was classified, locked away, safe. Maybe someday it would resurface. Maybe someday they'd have to fight again, but not today. Today was about pancakes and snow and the quiet joy of two people who'd found each other in fire and decided to build a life in peace. "You're burning them again," Emma pointed out. "They're caramelized," Julian argued. "That's not a thing. It is now," she laughed, kissing his cheek, stealing a piece of admittedly burnt pancake. They ate standing at the counter, shoulders touching, comfortable in the silence they'd earned. Later they'd read. Or walk in the snow, or work on their respective projects, or simply exist in the same space, doing nothing. And that would be enough. Because they'd learned the hardest lesson of all. That sometimes surviving meant letting go. That sometimes love meant sacrifice. That sometimes the greatest victory wasn't destroying your enemies or recovering what was stolen, but simply choosing to keep living, keep fighting, keep loving despite everything trying to tear you apart. They'd been strangers forced together by circumstance. They'd become partners forged in fire. They'd survived betrayal and loss and violence and fear. And on the other side, they'd found something neither expected. Something real. Something worth all of it. Peace. Love. Home. As afternoon light slanted through their kitchen windows, turning everything soft and golden, Julian and Emma smiled at each other. No words needed, just understanding. Just gratitude for the impossible gift of still being here. Still being together, still being alive. Outside, the world kept spinning. But inside their small farmhouse in Vermont, time stopped. Just for a moment. Just long enough to appreciate the beautiful, hard-won simplicity of two people who'd been through hell and decided heaven was worth building from scratch. Their story had started with a cold transaction and a burning mansion. It had wound through violence and deception and love born in chaos, but it ended here. In a kitchen that smelled of burnt pancakes and snow, with two people who'd survived everything, choosing, every single day, to survive together. Some stories end in tragedy, some end in revenge. This one ended in love. Real, hard-fought, complicated, beautiful love. And that was enough. The end.